The Guerin Report, brought to you by Diatonic, standing at Yulong. Hi, and welcome to the Guerin Report on a Monday night. I hope you enjoyed the hot racing out of Ellerslie on Saturday. So many questions between now and Champions Day on trackside. We'll try and answer some of those for you over the next week or so. Looking further ahead, a lot further ahead, one of the biggest projects in the history of New Zealand racing is going to be the Greenfields Project for Waikato thoroughbred racing. We promised you last year when we spoke to Butch Castles we would keep you up to date on it. Of course, these things move relatively slowly, but now they have a potential site for the future home of Waikato racing. So we said to Andrew Castles, the Chief Executive of WTR, and Bruce Harvey, the chair, would you like to update people? They said, we can do better than that. We can show you where it's likely to be. Tonight, the first look at the potential site for the new home of Waikato racing. Well, gentlemen, we are here on what may well be the site of the future of Waikato racing, which is this. So, Andrew Castles, we'll start with you. Andrew Butch Castles, talk us through what we're seeing for what could be the future home of Waikato racing.
Yeah, it's a wonderful piece of land, sort of equidistant between what ultimately will be two cities, Hamilton and Cambridge. It runs down to the motorway, back along the boundary where you'll see those houses, up to a road that defines it at the end under the hills there. It's about 150 hectares of land. It was two families, significant negotiation required to get to a point of having a conditional offer. But if you ask me, could you find almost the perfect spot for a racecourse and training centre in the Waikato, this would do me.
Bruce, you're a Waikato man. When you look at this, it's almost hard to believe you guys have managed to find such a large piece of flat land this close to the airport.
Yeah, we couldn't be happier with what we've landed on. We did a reverse tender through Bailey's. I think we had 12 properties offered to us, and this was always the first choice. For years and years, you drive from Cambridge to Hamilton, you look across here off the expressway and say, wouldn't that make a beautiful racecourse in there? So to land on it, we were really happy and excited about the future.
Okay, Butch, let's talk about what happens next, because the land is here, but you don't own it yet.
No, look, we've got a conditional offer on the land, and there are significant conditions through that, many hurdles to jump, but we are progressing really quickly. We will have a application for the referral stage of a fast track application, I think late March, very early April, and so that gives you a sense of an independent panel looking at that and saying, we reckon this has got legs or not. And so that's the referral stage. The substantive phase, if they do think it's got legs, would follow very quickly after that. So we've got members to make sure that they are comfortable with it, because there's so much involved in this. We're still working through a lot of due diligence. Water is a really key part of that, and there's some test drilling to be done in March as well. So irrigate the tracks, feed the horses, because there's going to be a lot of horses stabled here as well. There's going to be horses that are required hosing. There's training tracks, racing surfaces, all of those things. So yeah, there needs to be a lot of water. Our initial thoughts from the regional council are that there is a significant aquifer, but we need to prove that, and we need to make sure that the flow rate and all of what's required is up to standard.
Okay, this I imagine wouldn't have come cheap, and I presume it's commercially sensitive, but to build on it and to create a racetrack is going to be very expensive. Does that mean the selling of Waikato Thoroughbred Racing's other 3 training or racing entities to fund this?
I think we've been very clear right through the process that to get the new shoes, we would need to dispose of the old shoes. And how that's done is going to be the most important thing, because it needs to be a very clear and structured process. It needs to make sure that we capitalise and get the best value for each of those assets, because there are significant land holdings across the entity. There's also a commercial property portfolio as well. So we need to make sure that, that the timelines are in place, and that's the trick, because we have to pay for this before we can dispose of those assets. So
would there need to be a significant amount of bridging finance?
Yeah, there's going to be bridging, and that's where it's going to be, I think, something that's bigger than Waikato thoroughbred racing. This is an industry issue. This is to safeguard the industry in the north, the heartbeat of racing, for the next 50, 100 years. And is that just Waikato thoroughbred racing's responsibility? I'm not sure it is. I think we, as an industry, need to pull every lever, pull every trigger that we can to try and make sure that this is funded in the right fashion, because we're going to need to race for a period of time at Te Rapa. We're going to need to make sure that the health and safety of the many, many horses that are trained and stabled at Cambridge continue until they can move to the new facility behind us. So look, it is a massive undertaking, but one that I believe is crucial to the future, so that our children and grandchildren can enjoy fantastic times at racing.
Bruce, what ballpark dream scenario this all goes well? What sort of time frame are we talking that the gates crash open for a race meeting here?
We'd like to think in that 8 to 10 year window. The Cambridge is zoned deferred residential, so I think it's 2036 to 37, somewhere around there.
Bit earlier.
That depends on the backflow of sections and that in Cambridge, in the district, but that you see how rapidly Cambridge is growing, and I'm sure that would be sooner rather than the later.
You know, Bruce is 8 to 10 years. We're probably a year to 18 months into that. I think the fast track process is the key. We agonised as to whether that was the right vehicle in which to pursue this, and the belief is from everyone that has advised us that it is the right vehicle by which to do this. And look, you know, it is a massive undertaking, the build of it, but the consenting process is a big part of it as well.
Okay, we have a racetrack in Auckland which is going to be closed at some stage and is going to be providing the industry with a significant amount of money. Is this a call to also say, to help this industry in New Zealand and particularly in the north to head forward, maybe some of this money can be freed up for this project?
Well, you would think that would be an ideal. Look, there's greater minds than mine that are working through that and have been working through that Avondale scenario for a long, long time. But if you said, would it make sense that the asset shift, if you like, from a racecourse that's served its purpose for a long period of time was then transferred to an asset that's going to serve its purpose for a long period of time in a similar region, northern region, horses that are trained in this region would operate there, as do the participants, then logically it makes some sense to me, but that's not for me to decide. Okay,
you're a Te Rapa man, you've lived in many places, but Te Rapa's your racing home at the moment. Bruce, you're a Cambridge man. How do you think those two places and the people who work and live there or attend there are going to cop those places being sold for this? And there's a nice caveat to this. We've seen Ellersley's development over the last 2 years and people go, wow, we needed that. Is that the vision people need to take to something like this?
Oh, I think very much so, Mick. You know, we're as of most race clubs throughout New Zealand now, we're starting to get ageing infrastructure. We're starting to get built out at Cambridge. The urban sprawl basically is right across the road from it. And so Cambridge was set up, designed for 300 horses. We're now the biggest training centre in Australasia. We're at capacity, we can't accept any more trainers. So we have to provide something for the young ones to gravitate north, if that's the way the shift is, if that's where the horses are breeding now. We need to be able to accommodate them, and at the moment we can't. And this is going to be right in the middle of two cities. You know, Cambridge is not far off being a city now. Hamilton's 10 minutes up the road. I believe the location of this will negate a lot of the negativity of anyone that said, why are we shifting from te rapa?
When that voting comes up, what do you say to people? Because it's easy for me to say you need to do this or need to do that because I want this, but I'm not intrinsically tied to te rapa. So what do you say to members who are going to vote on this who don't want to lose te rapa and in their minds, because I'm struggling with it, can't quite visualise what this is going to be?
Well, I think you would say that it's not necessarily about them. It's about their children and their grandchildren, because ultimately, as Bruce alluded to, the infrastructure, yes, we've got some nice rooms at te rapa, but the stable complex is almost past its use-by date. The underground, all of the piping, there's issues every single time that you go to work. There's something that pops up with an ageing facility. This will be a modern, state-of-the-art facility that will serve the industry well into the next decades and beyond. And look, I think if you want to enjoy an experience at a high level now for sport, then you deserve to go to a facility that provides that, and this is what that would do. But equally, so do those horses that we want to be trained, deserve to be trained at a facility that provides a swimming pool that's a straight swimming pool. Like the swimming pool at Cambridge is over the road even from the main training centre. It's a small circular swimming pool. We've looked, have we got room? We actually haven't even got room to put a new one at Cambridge. Those horses and those participants deserve to have the best tools at their disposal, and I think that we can provide that at a new modern facility for training and racing.
What else can go into this? You need stables, you need tracks, we understand that. You need a grandstand, an administration block. Is there the potential there you do a JV and a hotel goes on the back of that, or a motel as some places do? Is there potential you work with Waikato harness racing and they might look to come here? And I'm talking potential. I know these things don't always work this way. And is there any idea in a Greenfields plan that maybe a sales centre can somehow be built into this bush? I know that's a lot of questions, but people's minds at home right now watching this have a lot of questions.
So let's try and knock them off. Sales centre, absolutely. It would make sense that there was the potential to have a sales centre, and if you look at the draft master plan, if you like, there is an area of land that says sales complex there. So that's not to say that all of a sudden you'd be in competition with New Zealand bloodstock at Karaka, but that future-proofs it to say they might decide that that piece of land is too valuable to have as a sales complex. So yes, you would have that. You would have veterinary facilities of the highest level, but equally you would look to have different commercial type developments around it. You would make sure that there was the community were catered for, and whether that be a restaurant or pubs and clubs, whether a hotel is quite right early on, but you would look to have the potential for that into the future. So all of those options are on the table. Going back to your sales complex, shared parking, all of those types of things is what you can do. We've not taken any equestrian partner off the table. It would be crazy to do that at this early stage. So you might look to have polo as part of it. But harness racing, again, we all know that Project Stamina is taking place at the moment. So what they decide to recommend is for the future. So we need to absolutely consider whether harness racing could work. The model would be, in my opinion, a difficult one. Difficult doesn't always not work though.
Well, I suppose also harness racing at night, there's big gallopers in the vicinity who get out of bed at 3:30 in the morning.
All of those things.
A lot of those, okay, there's a lot of moving parts to that.
The first and foremost, our priority is setting up a world-class racing and training facility. That's our focus, main focus. And what piggybacks on the rest of that as far as JVs or commerciality, we'd be open to look at that. But our first and foremost is thoroughbred racing and training facility, which is the best we can provide.
Racing clubs undertaking property development has had a very checkered history in New Zealand in the last 10 years. Ellerslie did it well, Alexandra Park did it very badly. Who's in charge of this for you guys? Do we have the right people now to make sure this isn't stuffed up?
So we have a project leader, if you like. So Steve Bramley is leading the project at the moment, but calling on different experts as we go through it. I'm certainly not pretending to know as much as you would need to develop a property like this, but it will be done in a fashion that is best practice. From a governance point of view, we've got a good governance structure in place. I think these things can fall over on process and governance, and we want to make sure that doesn't happen, and I'm comfortable where we are with process and governance at the moment.
Now, Butch, you are the face of Waikato racing, for good or bad.
Thanks,
A
Michael.
lovely face it is too. But you're taking a 3-month sabbatical, and we wish you the best with that. But there'll be people who think, well, hold on, if the big man's not going to be here, who's going to run this? So, yes, there's project managing, but also there's people in racing who have questions and things they want to ask. I believe there's an email address. I believe, Bruce, obviously, you're well known in racing, so people can come and talk to you. Talk to me first, Butch, about people who want to email you guys and ask questions or come up with suggestions.
Oh, absolutely. Development at waikatoracing.co.nz. There is an email address set up for that, and that part of the community consultation as well. We've had any number of emails from locals in this area and some really good ideas as well, some great ideas about even things like where they think the best place to exit into the property would be, exit out, you know. It's fantastic to get that feedback. Not all of it is extremely positive, as you can imagine, but there is some really positive stuff coming through. So anyone that has a good idea, we would welcome that to that development. Bruce gets to the races a lot. Look, we have board members that are well known at the races. Bart Cowan, who is our track manager at Te Rapa, he is involved in helping put together design, as is Derek Collett from Cambridge. So those trainers, we've had Roger James involved, drawing on his many years of expertise and overseas experience. He's taken horses to various parts of Australasia and the world and been to race courses. So look, we don't have a monopoly on ideas. That email address is a great starting point, or contact someone from Waikato Thoroughbred Racing.
We started the consultation last month. We had a community day at Tamaheri here. We had over 200 people come through. They had an opportunity to put up their concerns and positives and negatives. We've got neighbours, there's a lot of neighbours around here. We have a meeting on the 25th with them, engaging with the neighbours, and we're in the process of setting up a community liaison group that can help, that we can take along with the progress and the whole process of what we're doing.
I know everybody wants what they want, but I have to ask this question. Do we have the capabilities, or do we have enough money behind Waikato Thoroughbred Racing to maintain a Strathia track? Is that potentially on the plans, or because they're bloody expensive to maintain and they require a lot of water, is that, Butch, not something being investigated at the moment?
So a Strathia track is definitely one of the options, but as is a sand profile, you know, like a Flemington's, not a Strathia, but gee whiz, we can see when it rains there and how quickly that drains. So this would need to be amended from what's there now, and it may well be a sand profile other than a Strathia, but certainly we haven't ruled out a Strathia surface at this stage.
For people watching this, they want simple answers. I know there is no simple answer to this. How realistic, in both of your minds, I'll start with you first, Bruce, is that we be racing here for Waikato Thoroughbred Racing in 10 years' time?
Oh, I think it's really realistic. I'll be disappointed if we're not. I think and the whole industry realises we need this. So I think it's very realistic.
Give us a percentage number. I'm going to put you on the spot.
I'd like to say 90%. There you go.
Okay, Butch,
I'm
can
positive,
you do any better than 90?
Look, I don't.
It has to happen.
As a
We've
betting
got to make it
man,
happen.
Michael, I bet that it'll happen. I bet that it'll happen. I don't know what percentage I'm going to take. I don't know where the market's framed. Is it 121, or are we taking unders
Well,
and overs?
the good news is,
but I reckon it'll happen.
on Legends Day, you tipped the 2 Group 1 winners, Legato and
Yeah, so
First
3
Five
out of
on
3,
top.
eh?
So there you go. I think this one's slightly more important.
But I think it not happening is not. It's not the answer for the industry.
It has to happen.
It has to happen.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
What I would say is I'm not sure how it actually comes together at this stage. I don't know the absolute details of how it all fits together, because there are so many pieces to the puzzle, but I do know there are enough smart people, there are enough well-minded people, and there are enough people that understand that we need this to happen for the future, that it will happen.
Our thanks to the boys there, and it's been amazing to see that site. Something more important and more heartfelt for many people watching this show is our good friend Andrew Butch Castles. As many of you would know, He has been fighting a big battle. We spoke to him about how he's getting on. Well, mate, you deserve a break. You've been working in racing for an awfully long time, but it's not the break you would want and under the circumstances you would want. So you have been sick. How is your health?
Yeah, I am sick. My health is good days and bad days. Look, I've had 12 rounds of chemo now, and that's an indefinite process. I've had 2 good scans. So you have a scan and you wait for the best part of 2 weeks, and that's a harrowing 2 weeks.
Just for people who don't know, Butch, scans of what?
So a scan of the cancer, which is primarily in my case is liver and bowel, and they report on that, and both of the scans that I've had have seen significant reduction in the size of the lesions on the liver. So that's really good news. And the oncologist said, whilst you're getting that good news, go and do some stuff. So the board of Waikato Thoroughbred Racing have been extremely accommodating. They've been amazing through this. Bruce as chairman and the board incredible, and they were fully supportive of taking a bit of a break. I'm still going to do the odd thing, because otherwise I'd probably go nuts, and me nuts is not a good thing. So we're going to, we're going to do some stuff.
They tell me chemotherapy, I've had some family members go through it, not a lot of fun.
No, not a lot of fun at all, and but in saying that, you know, you have good days and bad days. They give you this steroid called dexamethasone or something when you're having it, and it masks the effects while you're having it, but then you have a crash. And sort of the 2 or 3 days afterwards can be really, really rough. But hey, I've been coping pretty well. A lot luckier than others. Even going into the hospital and seeing some of them with the infusions that they're having, I'm coping pretty well. I'm going okay.
You have a deep, deep love of racing, of all types of racing, the little stuff and the huge stuff. Has that been helpful during this process to have something you love to think about?
Oh, absolutely, and it's been also helpful to have had a career of, upwards of 30 years. I've done racing and sold booze, and to have made so many contacts and had so many friends develop in that period of time has been a huge part of coping, if you like. I mean, I've been completely blown away and overwhelmed by the support and the friendship and the love that's been shown, not just by my dear friends, because you would expect that. You would expect that love from very close and dear friends, but just from people that you've had dealings with, that you might have done something nice for at some stage over that period of time, and the number of people that have reached out, that have come to visit, that have made an effort to send a message, just quite humbling, or very, very humbling, to be honest. And things that people have done totally without being asked, and it's just quite hard to comprehend and get the head around, really, but pretty cool.
I had the wonderful Dame Cat Williams on the show a couple of weeks ago, and she said one thing which was really difficult was people don't know sometimes how to talk to people who are in wheelchairs, and I think it's the same when people are sick. Sometimes they don't want to ask. So for people out there who know you or love you or respect you, and are too scared to text and say how you're getting on, or even to ask you some of the details, what's your advice to those people?
Oh, look, I try, and anyone that does text and try and get back to them as soon as I can. My stock and standard answer at the moment is just happy to be here. And when someone asks how you're doing, happy to be here. And that's a fact, because early on the prognosis wasn't great, particularly without any treatment. I was very, very lucky that I got some private treatment before I would have been able to get into the public system. Again, some people in the industry decided that that's what needed to happen, and that was sorted out in a heartbeat. And I'm forever be thankful for that, because that gave me 3 treatments before I would have had 1 in the public system, and that, I believe, made a significant difference. So happy to be here is my mantra, and I really am.
I suppose while it's a more accentuated version for you, I suppose it's for all of us in life. Enjoy it while you can. Is that now becoming more sharply focused or into focus for you?
Well, my favourite song forever has been For Today by the Netherworld Dancing Toys, and you listen to that, and I've often lived my life by that motto, if you like.
Sometimes to your detriment.
Yeah, absolutely. for today, but look, I suppose you do have to be thankful for the things. I mean, Tess and the kids have been incredible. I'm thankful for them. The kids have grown closer, and out of adversity comes some good things. And I think if that's one of the real positives that I've seen out of it, is that they have done that and tests, and we've become closer as well. And yeah, look, it's a shit thing, but you just got to deal with it. You've got to get on with it, and you've got to find ways to get on with it. And one of the ways that I've found is embracing the love and support from so many.
I want to ask you something, because you're in a very privileged position. There's people watching this who are lifers, and you're more or less a lifer in racing. You've loved it your entire life, and you've worked your ass off in your entire life to make it better. Now that you have a perspective on what all this means in the scheme of a life, and you're willing to shed all the bullshit away, what does New Zealand racing need to do? Taking all the politics away, and he's my team and this person's my team and we don't like them, we do like this people. When you shed all that bullshit out, what does New Zealand racing need to do, in your opinion, next to get the next 5 to 10 years right?
Well, I think like most sports in this country, the facilities issue is the biggest one. I mean, if you look at suburban grounds for all sorts of sports around New Zealand, they're at an age where the infrastructure is crumbling, and that's no different to racing. If we're not very careful, we'll be racing on even more substandard tracks and facilities than we are currently. We have to find a solution to that. Look, I'm not sure that it's a one-size-fits-all solution, because I think each region has some different requirements and some different things. I mean, Ellerslie now, we could race there, goodness knows, we could race there 40, 45, 50 times a year, I think, for how good it is. So what else do we need in the northern region? We'll still need the odd community track. We'll need those tracks where people get exposed to racing on a first-time basis. I mean, Waipuka are racing in November. What the hell's wrong with that? Like, there was an incredible day that they had when they were back racing there, with thousands of people, young people exposed to it. I think there's a place for that, but the reality is we need to make sure that we've got the right infrastructure in place, the right size infrastructure, the right number of race courses, and whilst that might be fewer than it is now, we also need to transition to it properly. We can't go through a period where we don't have enough venues, as we've done in the past, when we, for some reason, took Te Araha and Ellerslie out of play at the same time. That was complete madness. We need to make sure that there's a structured approach, that there's an absolute vision as to how we get there. And the other thing is, you know, we've proved it in the Waikato that these clubs can come together and work together, and we just need to right-size the administration of this industry as well.
Okay, tonight it's not the Guerin report, it's the Castles report. So, what do you say to people who are watching this, who may be too scared to text you, or have sent you a text or given you a hug or a smile, who are out there and they're thinking of you and the family?
I just say thanks. I think it's cool that there are so many people that have reached out. It gives me tremendous strength to know that I have enormous support from so many people. And look, those are the things that sometimes late at night you lie there and you think of experiences you've had way back, maybe in the early days at Trentham, or running the Otaki Maori Racing Club as a really young person that really didn't know anything, but you got support from so many people. And to that point, I got a tremendous, lovely letter from Ben Jamieson, who runs the Otaki Maori Racing Club, on behalf of that club. Like, it was pretty cool to get that, and all of those things mean so much. But I just say thanks for reaching out, really.
Thanks, Butch, and good luck to you with the fight ahead, and of course to your wonderful family. From one champion of New Zealand racing to another. Last night, he broke the record for wins by a Hong Kong-trained horse. We go out tonight on the great Kiwi Ka Ying Rising.
400 metres left to go. They're at the silent witness statue now. Ka Ying Rising. Purdon shakes the reins. He's put 2 lengths on co-partner Prance. Lucky Swainess. And they were followed then by Helios Express. But it's Ka Ying Rising. 1:25 to go. 5 on Helios Express. 7,629 days ago. Silent witness won 17 in a row. Today, he hands it to Ka Ying Rising. 18 wins in a row.
The Guerin Report, brought to you by Diatonic, standing at Yulong.